You've been told that success, happiness, and fulfillment come from thinking positively, picturing your dreams, or waiting for the right moment. Yet here you are, chasing goals, repeating affirmations, scribbling plans in a journal, and still feeling a gap between effort and outcome. The world doesn't hand us what we want simply because we desire it. Life tests us, shapes us, and challenges us in ways we cannot always predict. The Stoics remind us that it is not the events outside our control that define our path, but the choices we make within the space we can influence. Clarity, deliberate action, and persistence are the forces that transform intention into reality. Every meaningful step begins with understanding what is within your control and committing to it fully. It is in these deliberate, disciplined actions, even when unseen, that transformation quietly takes root. Success is not a gift. It is forged by those who align thought, word, and deed and face resistance without abandoning their purpose. Every choice, every moment of engagement shapes the trajectory of your life far more than desire alone ever could. Consider the moments when a goal consumed your thoughts so completely that it felt like your very being depended on it. A promotion that could redefine your career, a personal relationship that seemed essential to your happiness, or an achievement that would validate years of effort. You imagined it in vivid detail, visualizing the outcome until it almost felt tangible. You whispered affirmations, repeated them until they became rhythm, and perhaps even covered walls with vision boards, each image representing a life you longed for. Yet despite this intensity, progress often remained elusive. Movement occurred in thought, but stagnation persisted in reality. Desire alone is energy without direction. Fuel without a path simply burns out, leaving smoke but no warmth. Marcus Aurelius reflected that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. It is not the yearning itself that propels the world forward, but the deliberate shaping of intention into reasoned, actionable steps. Without understanding what truly matters and why, energy dissipates like sand slipping through fingers. Effort spreads thin, scattered in countless directions, never coalescing into meaningful movement. When life seems stagnant and plans fail to bear fruit, the mind whispers doubts. Does desire itself suffice? Has the effort been misjudged? Was the time spent imagining and hoping wasted? In this quiet confrontation with frustration, clarity must emerge. Without it, the mind is a ship adrift, buffeted by currents of fleeting impulses, each tug dragging attention elsewhere. Intentions pile upon intentions, creating a cluttered landscape of dreams without order, a chaos of wants without priority. Epictetus observed that we are disturbed not by events themselves, but by our judgments about them. Longing without clarity is not a flaw of circumstance, but a reflection of a mind untrained in direction, mistaking mere desire for competence. True progress arises not from craving, but from understanding what is within reach and which steps must be taken to translate imagination into tangible reality. Visualizing dreams is not in itself a failure, yet without a framework for execution, it risks seduction rather than guidance. Rehearsing outcomes endlessly may feel productive, yet without action, it is rehearsal for performances that never occur. You can imagine climbing a mountain endlessly, memorizing every trail, yet until the first step is taken, the peak remains distant. Desire fuels energy, but that energy must be directed. In the Stoic worldview, power lies not in wishing, but in acting upon what is discernible and within your control. Clarity becomes the compass, guiding ambition into movement that produces measurable change. Without it, hope drifts, unmoored from the harbor of reality. Clarity is not simply knowing what you want. It is understanding the principles that make that goal meaningful, identifying the values that anchor it, and aligning each choice with that understanding. When intentions are diffuse, effort fragments. Energy leaks into countless tasks, each tug weakening the overall pursuit. This is why successful manifestation is less about visualizing outcomes and more about sculpting a path with disciplined steps. Each step must be deliberate, reasoned, and informed by knowledge and reflection. Preparation, in this sense, is the marriage of clarity and action, the deliberate cultivation of competence that transforms chance into consequence. Desire without a plan is a wish. Desire coupled with clarity becomes the force that shapes events, the engine driving intention into manifestation. When ambition burns without clarity, the mind experiences a peculiar duality, the excitement of hope intertwined with the sting of stagnation. Every day becomes a reminder that vision alone cannot create reality. Time passes, effort is expended in directions unseen, and outcomes remain unchanged. The Stoics teach that wisdom is the art of directing energy effectively, applying reason to choice, and shaping intention into concrete behavior. Without this application, the energy of longing becomes a restless river, powerful but unchanneled, capable of washing away focus required for genuine accomplishment. Structuring thought, translating vision into stepwise action, and aligning with values turns fleeting desire into persistent progress. Each deliberate choice compounds, slowly transforming potential into realized outcomes. Every small reasoned action feeds momentum, reinforcing discipline and clarity. Obstacles become markers of alignment, not deterrents, and even minor achievements contribute to a larger trajectory of growth. Manifestation is the cumulative effect of these thoughtful, sustained actions. Each repetition, each intentional step, and each moment of reflection deepens skill, reinforces resolve, and shapes the life that emerges from consistent, wise engagement with what is within your control. And as you reflect on these insights, consider the subtle power of integration. Clarity provides direction. Disciplined action propels momentum. Alignment with values ensures meaning. Together, they form the architecture of manifestation, slowly but inevitably transforming thought into reality. The path is neither instant nor effortless, but it is deliberate, reasoned, and grounded in principles that endure beyond fleeting desires. The work is quiet, sometimes unseen, yet profoundly real. This is the Stoic practice of shaping your life through agency, reflection, and intentionality. A life where each choice matters, each action counts, and each step builds toward lasting transformation. If you are ready to continue cultivating clarity, reasoned action, and intentional growth, subscribing is a personal commitment. It is a choice to align thought, word, and deed, to embrace reflection, and to strengthen the steady cultivation of your potential. Desire's power is realized only when paired with understanding. Consider the difference between craving an accolade and identifying the daily practices, interactions, and efforts that produce it. Craving alone excites the mind. Preparation alone equips it. Clarity alone maps the route. When all three converge, action becomes meaningful, momentum begins, and the abstract transforms into the tangible. Finally, consider the compounding effect of daily choices rooted in clarity. Each decision, however small, contributes to the architecture of achievement. Energy applied without direction scatters. Energy aligned with purpose amplifies. Every action taken with reason and intent builds upon the last, each step creating conditions for the next. Begin with clarity, define what is truly essential, and act relentlessly in accordance with that understanding. The mind, the body, and the environment converge to transform abstract longing into lived reality. Without clarity, the flame of desire sputters. With clarity, it becomes a lantern lighting the path forward. Clarity is only the first spark. On its own, it illuminates the path but doesn't carry you forward. Imagine a traveler with a map but no compass, walking through an unfamiliar land. Every step is tentative, every turn uncertain, and every pause invites distraction. The path may appear straight, yet without measured steps, it twists into dead ends, loops, and wasted effort. A goal, no matter how vivid, demands engagement with the terrain of reality. Manifestation does not wait for the perfect conditions, for the stars to align, or for a sudden burst of motivation. It is forged in action, deliberate and consistent, small yet persistent, building an unseen rhythm that slowly reshapes circumstance. Progress often feels invisible at first, like water gradually wearing down stone, yet the cumulative effect is undeniable. The act of moving forward is not always dramatic. Most of the time it is quiet, almost imperceptible, yet within this consistency lies the power to transform. Each decision, each step, each choice repeated daily compounds into momentum that eventually breaks through resistance. Stoicism teaches that virtue is not found in grand declarations or idle reflection. It is realized in action, disciplined and steady, in showing up when no one observes, and in responding to circumstance with reason rather than impulse. There is a subtle art in this alignment. Too often, people mistake busyness for progress. They plan, reflect, and imagine endlessly, believing that preparation itself will manifest outcomes. Yet the mind, like a tool, is inert without application. Action without clarity risks misdirection, but clarity without action is impotent. Both must converge. Each step taken, guided by reason and aimed at the end goal, brings you closer, even if the distance remains long and uncertain. The challenge is in sustaining effort when results seem delayed, when the daily repetition appears mundane, and when progress is imperceptible. Momentum is not instantaneous. It is cumulative, a quiet building of strength, persistence, and insight, and its power is revealed over time. Manifestation requires observing patterns as they unfold. Every choice, every effort, and every moment of resistance contains information. By reflecting on what works and what stalls, you refine the approach, adapting without abandoning the goal. The traveler does not stop to lament the difficulty of the journey, but notes which paths are impassable and which offer steady footing. This reflection is itself an act of agency, a deliberate application of reason to shape circumstances. As the Stoics teach, what is within our control is our choice, our response, and our effort. The terrain of reality may resist, but the disciplined mind navigates with awareness, adjusting course without surrendering direction. Consistency, even in small actions, produces effects that are disproportionately large. A single deliberate step may seem inconsequential, yet when repeated over days, weeks, or months, it shifts outcomes in ways that can appear almost miraculous in hindsight. Consider a craftsman hammering nails, shaping wood, or carving stone. Each strike alone seems minor, yet over time the structure emerges. Manifestation functions in the same way. Incremental, deliberate acts accumulate. While desire ignites the intention, it is disciplined action that builds the bridge from thought to reality. Without engagement, even the clearest vision remains suspended in imagination, vulnerable to distraction and fade. Action is inseparable from attention. To step deliberately is to invest full awareness in each choice. Too often, action is half-hearted, diluted by doubt, or divided by competing priorities. The Stoics remind us that wisdom is the mastery of attention, the direction of effort toward what is essential. Each step, when fully present, strengthens the mind and conditions the environment to respond. The traveler moves with purpose, aware of the terrain, attuned to obstacles, and focused on the horizon. Momentum emerges not only from repetition, but from mindful engagement with each action, refining the process and solidifying the path forward. It is easy to overestimate the value of grand gestures and underestimate the power of repetition. Monumental progress rarely arrives in sudden leaps. It is built in the quiet repetition of small, deliberate steps. Patience and persistence become the scaffolding on which success rests. Each measured action compounds not only outwardly but inwardly, cultivating resilience, discipline, and confidence. Seneca observed that luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. In the context of manifestation, preparation is the consistent engagement with purpose. Each deliberate effort positions you to recognize and seize the opportunities that emerge, transforming them into tangible outcomes. Finally, action must be tempered with reflection. Moving without awareness risks aimless repetition, while reflection without movement risks stagnation. The balance between thought and deed, insight and effort, intention and application defines the path of real manifestation. Momentum is the product of this alignment. Clarity guides the mind, deliberate steps shape the path, and reflection ensures that effort is directed where it matters most. Manifestation, in its fullest sense, is a continuous dialogue between vision and action, a disciplined orchestration of choice, and the persistent cultivation of the life that aligns with both reason and purpose. Each small step, taken with awareness and intent, is the pulse of transformation, invisible at first, but undeniable over time. Positive thinking has become almost a ritual in modern life. We are told that if we repeat affirmations, hold optimistic intentions, and cultivate a hopeful mindset, the universe will align to reward our efforts. People fill notebooks with reminders of their dreams, repeat phrases like, "I am successful," or "I attract abundance," and expect that these thoughts alone will alter the fabric of their reality. Yet, in practice, something subtle but critical is missing. Optimism in isolation is like a gust of wind pushing a ship without a sail. It produces movement that lacks direction, force that dissipates into nothingness. The mind can conjure elaborate visions, imagine outcomes in vivid detail, and even rehearse the steps toward success endlessly. Still, without deliberate action, these visions remain ephemeral, suspended in a kind of wishful stasis. Positivity energizes the spirit, but cannot, on its own, translate intention into measurable reality. When intention is not paired with action, the mind drifts into illusions of progress. You may feel momentum in imagining the life you want, in visualizing abundance or achievement, yet this internal experience is deceptive. Carl Jung observed that, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Without deliberate engagement, the unconscious patterns of avoidance, distraction, and hesitation quietly govern your choices. You may feel productive rehearsing scenarios in thought, but those rehearsals do not shape the world outside your mind. Action is the bridge between the abstract and the tangible. Intentions alone merely excite the possibility. Effort gives it structure, form, and direction. One cannot rely solely on hope, for it is in the persistent enactment of values and purpose that vision becomes reality. Even small, consistent actions compound in ways that are invisible at first, yet profound over time. A single step taken deliberately may feel insignificant, yet its repetition, guided by awareness and purpose, accumulates into force. Daily choices, setting aside time for learning, reaching out to collaborators, applying knowledge to solve problems, shape outcomes more than abstract thought ever can. Positivity fuels the willingness to act, yet action channels this energy into measurable results. Without this channel, enthusiasm evaporates, and optimism alone can create frustration rather than fulfillment. The mind can sustain hope, but it cannot construct reality without intervention. The principle is simple. Intention energizes, but action directs. Only when both converge does the possibility of tangible change emerge. The disconnect between thought and deed is particularly insidious because the mind rewards engagement with the illusion of progress. Writing down affirmations, visualizing wealth or success, or imagining social recognition can create a sensation of movement, as if the wheels of destiny have already begun to turn. Yet without the concrete steps that translate vision into reality, this movement is illusory. Positivity may make you feel aligned with your aspirations, But alignment without implementation is like pointing a compass without walking the path it indicates. Stoicism emphasizes that outcomes are not guaranteed by desire alone. They are shaped by disciplined action within the sphere of influence. Marcus Aurelius reflected on the difference between what lies within our control and what does not, reminding us that the mind must not mistake hope for effect or desire for execution. Action is more than mere activity. It is a conscious, reasoned engagement with reality, guided by awareness of the consequences and informed by reflection. To move without clarity is to drift, but to think without motion is to stagnate. Positivity primes the mind to engage, to recognize possibilities, and to motivate, but unless it converges with disciplined steps, it remains untethered. Energy without direction can overwhelm rather than empower. In this sense, every small act of alignment, each deliberate decision to engage with the work, the challenges, or the incremental progress, becomes the true driver of manifestation. Affirmation without effort is wishful thinking. Effort without reflection is aimless labor. Together, they form the rhythm by which change occurs. Consider how habits shape outcomes in subtle ways. Positivity without action may encourage consistency in thought, but not in behavior. If one repeatedly tells oneself, "I will succeed," without establishing the routines, learning, and incremental actions necessary to support that success, the mind experiences an empty echo of effort. Momentum does not originate from thought alone. It arises when deliberate behaviors, repeated with awareness and patience, align with values and intentions. The ancient philosophers framed this as the practice of virtue, the exercise of choice according to reason. Every day offers opportunities for small, purposeful engagement. Tasks that may seem insignificant, sending a single email, taking a single step towards skill development, observing patterns of success and failure, compound to create the architecture of achievement. It is in these seemingly minor actions that momentum grows, while positivity alone can leave the mind suspended in imagined progress. When intention meets execution, energy flows into results rather than into illusions. Ultimately, the mind thrives when thought and action are integrated. Affirmations and optimism are not meaningless. They are the fuel for engagement, the initial spark that awakens the will. But fire alone cannot build a structure. It must be directed with tools, strategy, and effort. Each deliberate step, guided by reflection and reason, amplifies the energy of positive thought. Each action taken with awareness compounds into results. Manifestation requires this duality, the alignment of internal energy with disciplined external action, the calibration of hope with effort, and the consistent translation of vision into measured steps that shape reality over time. Writing captures thought. It traps ideas before they slip away, gives shape to intentions, and reminds the mind of what it values. Journals, affirmations, and goal lists are powerful because they transform abstract impulses into something tangible, something that can be revisited, considered, and refined. Yet the act of writing alone does not produce change. To inscribe a goal on a page is to focus attention, to acknowledge possibility, but focus is not momentum. The difference is subtle but critical. Momentum demands motion, a continual translation of thought into deed. Without it, the written word risks becoming decoration, a record of desire without impact, a mirror reflecting potential rather than a lever shifting reality. Consider a simple comparison: a cart with a wheel locked in place. You can push it, nudge it, even decorate it to your heart's content, but the cart will not move until the wheel turns and force is applied in a meaningful direction. Similarly, writing provides clarity, but it is the careful, deliberate step that propels intention forward. One might list every goal imaginable, describe the life envisioned with precision, and repeat affirmations until they echo in the mind, yet none of this will alter the circumstances around them unless paired with concrete action. The Stoics emphasized that action validates thought. Epictetus's concept of prohairesis, our capacity for rational choice, reminds us that the moral and practical measure of a person is in how consistently their choices align with their understanding of what is good, necessary, and possible. In this sense, manifestation begins not in dreaming, but in disciplined doing. Each written goal should contain within it a pathway, a next step, however small. The exercise is not merely cataloging desire, but designing actionable increments that move the larger ambition toward completion. For example, if one writes, "I will become proficient in a skill," the entry itself is inert until paired with a concrete first step, scheduling practice sessions, learning the foundational concepts, or seeking guidance from someone experienced. This step is deceptively small, yet it is the linchpin of progress. Without it, the entry is an intention trapped on paper, waiting for an external miracle to animate it. The mind is powerful, but it operates through structured engagement. Writing creates awareness, doing creates transformation. Reflection amplifies the utility of writing. When one revisits entries, they observe patterns, notice tendencies, and identify barriers that have hindered progress. This reflection is not passive. It is a form of engagement, a feedback loop that informs the next step. If a goal remains unachieved, the journal entry transforms into a diagnostic tool, revealing which choices were effective and which were misaligned. The Stoic approach treats every action as a test of reason applied to circumstance. Each journaled goal becomes a reference point for judgment, enabling intentional calibration of future steps. In this way, writing serves as both compass and mirror. It indicates direction while showing the gap between aspiration and reality. The accumulation of small, deliberate actions guided by writing produces momentum in ways that can appear almost invisible. One step today, another tomorrow, each tethered to an intention captured in ink, compounds over weeks, months, and years. It is a quiet force, uncelebrated, yet undeniable. Consider Seneca's insight that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Writing without action is a form of waste. Action without reflection is blind. Only together do these elements allow the mind to direct effort efficiently, transforming potential into realized outcomes. Each day's practical step, however modest, reinforces the discipline necessary for meaningful manifestation. Beyond individual steps, writing allows the mind to coordinate efforts across different domains. Goals in isolation can clash, compete for energy, or scatter focus. By documenting them, the mind externalizes priorities and enables strategy. Each entry becomes part of a larger architecture, a system where choices reinforce one another rather than conflict. This process mirrors the Stoic principle of living according to nature and reason, harmonizing intention, choice, and action to achieve coherence in life. Through this system, manifestation becomes less like gambling on chance and more like constructing a mechanism, predictable, responsive, and capable of scaling incremental effort into substantial results. Finally, the integration of clarity, reflection, and disciplined action ensures that written intentions do not stagnate. They are not mere monuments of wishful thinking. Each note, each affirmation, and each plan becomes a catalyst for the next step, a prompt to engage with reality intentionally. Over time, the accumulation of these deliberate steps produces tangible transformation. Positivity and intention fuel momentum, but action sustains it. Every written ambition that is paired with consistent, reasoned effort aligns thought with reality, enabling manifestation to emerge not as a fleeting fantasy, but as a concrete, lived experience. In this process, the abstract vision is converted into actionable reality, revealing that the pen alone does not create change, but the hand, guided by reason and choice, transforms it into life. Struggle is an inseparable companion to any goal of true significance. It is not a flaw in the process, nor a sign that the universe is against you, but a natural measure of what truly matters. Many assume that if a path is meant for them, it will be smooth, almost effortless, a gentle alignment of intention and outcome. The reality is almost always the opposite. The more meaningful a pursuit, the more resistance it evokes. Obstacles are not indicators that your efforts are misplaced. They are proof that the work you are doing matters. They reveal the contours of value, the shape of what is worth striving for. In the life of the artist, the musician, the craftsman, and the entrepreneur, every ambition of substance encounters friction. The resistance is not arbitrary. It is proportional to the significance of the pursuit, testing not only skill, but dedication, perseverance, and adaptability. To engage fully with life is to recognize that discomfort is part of the territory. When we encounter difficulty, the mind tends to weigh the effort against the expected reward, often exaggerating the hardship and diminishing the perceived value. This is where perspective is essential. Struggle, when understood as a sign of engagement rather than failure, reshapes the meaning of effort. Every obstacle becomes a lens, revealing the depth of commitment and the clarity of intention. Consider the effort of the athlete. A sprinter does not achieve speed without resistance. Every muscle strain, every repeated push against gravity, every day of disciplined training is a confrontation with difficulty. Similarly, the musician practices scales, often in monotony, facing mistakes and fatigue repeatedly until mastery emerges. Each struggle refines technique, sharpens focus, and deepens understanding. The craftsman experiences the same in shaping raw material, each imperfection demanding adjustment, patience, and discernment. These repeated confrontations with resistance are not punishment. They are calibration. They reveal the contours of what is achievable and necessary, and they cultivate qualities that ease are incapable of producing: resilience, attention to detail, and steadfastness. It is a mistake to equate difficulty with misalignment. Often the very challenge that provokes discomfort is the indicator that the endeavor is aligned with true values. When the heart is engaged, resistance is inevitable because meaningful work interacts with forces larger than personal convenience or superficial comfort. Growth is never without friction. Epictetus reminds us that external events themselves do not harm. It is our judgment of them that creates distress. Viewing struggle as evidence of engagement rather than failure transforms perspective. Instead of retreating at the first sign of difficulty, the individual learns to read resistance as a guide, indicating where energy, attention, and creativity must be applied to advance. Each obstacle becomes a teacher, highlighting weaknesses, blind spots, and opportunities for refinement. Resistance also serves to distinguish between fleeting desire and genuine commitment. Many are drawn to goals for their imagined outcomes, the reward, recognition, or satisfaction, but abandon them when effort intensifies. To retreat when the path becomes arduous is to betray the value of the pursuit, to reveal that the desire was conditional, shallow, or insufficiently anchored in purpose. In contrast, those who persist through difficulty cultivate not only results, but character. Persistence is the test of alignment between intention and action, between aspiration and engagement. Success achieved without such testing is fragile. It lacks the depth that struggle instills. Every barrier overcome embeds experience, insight, and confidence, qualities that endure beyond any single accomplishment. There is also a subtle rhythm to struggle that the mind must learn to interpret. Difficulty often arrives in patterns, phases of resistance followed by periods of insight, moments of stagnation followed by breakthroughs. Patience is essential. To demand immediate ease or perfection is to misunderstand the nature of growth. Every challenge contains within it the seed of skill and understanding, yet that seed can only be nurtured through sustained engagement. Seneca's counsel remains pertinent. Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. Each obstacle, each setback, Each repeated effort against resistance strengthens capacity, hones judgment, and reveals depth of commitment. The challenge is not merely external, it is the internal calibration of discipline, courage, and perseverance. Engaging with struggle requires deliberate framing. Instead of seeing difficulty as a threat to goals, it is instructive to interpret it as a signal of authenticity. Resistance measures the significance of the path. Where there is friction, there is value. Where there is ease, there may be only superficial comfort. The Stoic approach emphasizes understanding what is within our control, our actions, our judgments, our persistence, and engaging fully with these even as obstacles arise. By focusing on the realm of agency, the individual transforms struggle from a source of despair into a framework for progress. The pathway becomes less about avoiding resistance and more about navigating it skillfully, learning from it, and letting it shape judgment and character. Finally, the experience of struggle itself becomes formative. Each encounter with difficulty, each confrontation with failure or resistance contributes to a deeper understanding of the self. Growth is inseparable from challenge. Obstacles reveal the limits of skill, patience, and will, and in testing those limits, the individual discovers reserves of capability previously unrecognized. Carl Jung observed that there is no coming to consciousness without pain. The discomfort associated with pursuit is not incidental. It is the medium through which awareness and competence are cultivated. By embracing struggle as a necessary and meaningful component of manifestation, one aligns ambition with reality, energy with direction, and desire with action. Surrender is often misunderstood. Many imagine it as passive acceptance, a retreat into inaction, a quiet resignation that the universe will somehow deliver without effort. But this is a distortion of true engagement. Real surrender does not exist in the absence of exertion. It is the product of exhaustive action, reasoned effort, and disciplined persistence. Before the mind can release outcomes, before the spirit can rest in detachment, every possible step must have been taken. Knowledge must be applied, energy invested, choices executed, and strategy refined. Only then does surrender become meaningful. Waiting without full engagement is not surrender. It is stagnation, the dangerous illusion that hope can replace effort. The Stoic path teaches that serenity emerges not from avoidance of action, but from the integration of effort and acceptance, the alignment of intention with reasoned choice. To surrender effectively, one must understand the boundaries of control. The mind cannot command outcomes, influence every variable, or dictate the reactions of others. What is within reach are decisions, responses, and the diligent application of knowledge and effort. By acting fully in accordance with what can be directed and letting go of what lies beyond influence, the individual cultivates freedom of mind and clarity of focus. Each action, deliberate and complete, establishes a foundation upon which true surrender can rest. Without this foundation, detachment is hollow. It is not wisdom, but avoidance disguised as virtue. Imagine pursuing a project, a goal, or a vision with every resource at your disposal. Hours of thought, preparation, and labor are devoted to learning, planning, and execution. Each decision is intentional, each step methodical, each action measured against the standards of excellence you set for yourself. Even then, the outcome may diverge from expectation. External circumstances may shift, challenges arise, and results may appear delayed or incomplete. In these moments, surrender is not giving up. It is recognizing that effort has been maximized, that all that could be done has been done, and that the world will unfold according to its own principles. The mind, having fulfilled its responsibility, can rest, observing without attachment, remaining vigilant, ready to act further when new opportunities arise. Detachment is a skill that develops through disciplined practice. It is not indifference or laziness, but a cultivated awareness that results do not define worth or competence. Marcus Aurelius observed that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The act of surrender begins when the mind acknowledges the limits of control, yet continues to act fully within those limits. The body of work, the process of consistent effort, becomes the measure of engagement. Outcomes, though desired, are no longer the source of anxiety or distraction. The heart remains focused, the mind prepared, and the spirit serene, understanding that effort is responsibility and results are consequences, not obligations. True surrender demands patience as well as effort. The rhythm of life does not always reward immediate action, nor do results align neatly with the timing of intention. The diligent worker, the craftsman, the thinker, and the strategist must cultivate the ability to act persistently while accepting uncertainty. Each step is taken with care, knowledge is applied without haste, and decisions are weighed with prudence. At the end of this process, detachment is not passive resignation but active discernment, the ability to step back without abandoning engagement, to release anxiety while maintaining preparedness. In this way, surrender is a dynamic state, calm yet attentive, reflective yet ready to respond, accepting yet fully present in action. There is a paradox in surrender that often confounds the mind. To act fully and simultaneously release attachment to results seems contradictory. Yet the Stoics demonstrate that this duality is the mark of wisdom. Acting with maximum effort ensures that nothing within one's control is neglected. Releasing attachment to outcomes ensures that effort is not wasted in anxiety or futility. By applying this principle, each choice is executed to the fullest, but the mind refrains from clinging to results. This cultivated tension between effort and detachment forms the foundation of purposeful, resilient action. Surrender also provides the mental space to observe, adapt, and respond. When outcomes are no longer the source of obsessive attachment, the mind can recognize opportunities that were previously obscured by anxiety or impatience. Observation becomes sharper, judgment more accurate, and decision-making more fluid. Opportunities arise not because of luck, but because the mind, unburdened by unnecessary attachment, can perceive patterns, identify openings, and respond effectively. Surrender, in this sense, is not abandonment of the path. It is the maturation of effort into discernment, the transformation of action into wisdom. Finally, surrender is the culmination of disciplined engagement, conscious choice, and measured detachment. It begins after full exertion, after knowledge, energy, and strategy have been applied with intent, and it allows the mind to rest without abandoning readiness. The individual acts wisely within the bounds of control, releases anxiety over what is beyond influence, and remains attentive to opportunity. In this integration, surrender ceases to be passive. It becomes a dynamic principle of action, reflection, and clarity. Manifestation is often mistaken for the accumulation of things. Society conditions us to equate success with wealth, possessions, and status, as if the volume of external markers defines the worth of a life. Yet these are mere byproducts, secondary outcomes that hold little intrinsic meaning if detached from values and purpose. Consider the lives of those who seem materially rich but are emotionally bankrupt or spiritually empty. They possess what the world advertises as success, yet fulfillment eludes them. True accomplishment is never measured solely by what is acquired. The Stoics remind us that the good life is defined not by what happens to us, but by the alignment of our actions with reason, virtue, and the principles we hold sacred. Marcus Aurelius observed that it is the mind, disciplined and aligned with virtue, that creates the foundation for lasting contentment. Material accumulation without connection to purpose offers only fleeting satisfaction, quickly replaced by desire for more, leaving the deeper hungers unsated. Long-term fulfillment emerges from the cultivation of qualities that endure. Happiness, research shows, is most closely tied to meaningful engagement, contribution, and deep relationships, not possessions or transient markers of success. When attention is directed toward growth, mastery, and the development of skill, energy is spent on what actually shapes character and capability. Each effort made to refine ability, to increase understanding, or to positively impact others builds resilience and meaning. This process is cumulative and self-reinforcing. Small steps taken consistently, guided by reason and aligned with values, produce growth that cannot be bought or superficially attained. Desire for external symbols may ignite initial motivation, but it is the pursuit of excellence, aligned with ethical and practical principles, that sustains effort and generates outcomes that are both tangible and personally meaningful. It is easy to confuse desire with purpose. Ambitions can become detached from what truly matters, morphing into pursuit of recognition, wealth, or status alone. Such goals may provide temporary satisfaction, but they do not build the internal resources necessary for enduring fulfillment. To anchor manifestation in accumulation is to chase shadows, to invest effort in variables beyond our influence. True alignment arises when energy is focused on competence, contribution, and integrity. The fruits of labor, reputation, recognition, and material benefit emerge as secondary consequences of consistent, value-driven action. When outcomes are approached as natural byproducts rather than primary objectives, the process itself becomes the source of growth, not the external validation. Mastery requires dedication to both skill and character. To manifest meaningfully, one must cultivate capacity, not just desire. Skillful engagement shapes reality in ways that wishful thinking cannot. By applying energy to learning, problem-solving, and creative output, individuals enhance both capability and confidence. These improvements amplify potential to generate impact, creating alignment between intention and results. Success ceases to be a gamble dependent on luck or circumstance. It becomes the product of deliberate, reasoned action. Poverty is not simply a matter of wealth, it is a reflection of priorities and perspective. Aligning effort with values rather than external markers ensures that every step contributes to substantive, enduring advancement. Relationships are another essential domain in which alignment manifests more profoundly than accumulation. Human connection shapes perspective, supports resilience, and provides feedback that material goods cannot offer. Investing in relationships, in cultivating empathy, trust, and understanding, produces returns that cannot be measured in monetary terms. Aristotle suggested that friendship is both a source and reflection of virtue, a natural extension of ethical engagement with the world. When efforts are directed toward contributing meaningfully to others' lives, manifestation transcends selfish accumulation and enters a space of reciprocal growth. Contribution, guided by reason and purpose, amplifies personal development and creates a network of interdependent opportunity and support. The illusion that accumulation alone leads to fulfillment is further exposed when one reflects on the transient nature of material gains. Wealth and possessions may satisfy immediate desires, but cannot prevent challenges, uncertainty, or the inevitability of change. Life is inherently impermanent. Circumstances shift and external markers fluctuate. Those who orient manifestation around intrinsic qualities, skill, judgment, creativity, discipline, build resources that endure beyond circumstance. Marcus Aurelius taught that attachment to external things creates vulnerability, while cultivation of internal excellence produces resilience. When manifestation is guided by growth rather than accumulation, outcomes are naturally more stable, and the individual remains capable and purposeful regardless of external fluctuation. Manifestation aligned with values also fosters clarity of intention. When focus is placed on competence, contribution, and the development of meaningful capacities, decision-making becomes simpler, priorities become clear, and effort is directed efficiently. Choices made in accordance with core principles reinforce identity, and reduce internal conflict. Epictetus's principle that we are responsible for our judgments and actions, not the external consequences, highlights the distinction between energy spent on what we can control and anxiety over what we cannot. By anchoring manifestation in internal mastery and ethical action, the mind becomes a compass, and progress occurs steadily, without the distraction of transient desires or external validation. Finally, the accumulation of material or external symbols is most powerful when it emerges as a natural byproduct of consistent alignment with values and growth. By focusing on becoming better, wiser, and more capable, one establishes a foundation from which desired outcomes naturally arise. The emphasis shifts from chasing results to cultivating qualities that produce results. Carl Jung once noted that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Manifestation is therefore a process of self-cultivation where excellence, contribution, and integrity generate rewards that are meaningful, enduring, and aligned with purpose. The external symbols are no longer the goal. They are evidence of alignment realized, a reflection of growth achieved, and the outcome of disciplined, deliberate, and value-driven action. Everything comes together at the intersection of clarity, deliberate action, and alignment with what truly matters. When each decision is guided by reflection, each effort executed with attention, and each challenge embraced as part of the process, manifestation moves from concept to reality. It is a quiet, persistent alchemy where thought illuminates the path, action propels forward, and resistance shapes understanding. Nothing here is instantaneous. Nothing is effortless. Yet the results are profound, not because the world bends to desire, but because reasoned action compounds over time. Each small step, taken with awareness and integrity, is a thread woven into the larger fabric of a life intentionally constructed. Momentum emerges from consistency, from the repeated application of effort that respects both limits and possibilities. Manifestation is rooted in control over the self rather than control over circumstances. External events will always fluctuate, challenges will appear, and outcomes will defy expectation. The power lies in how one navigates these events, the judgments made, the effort invested, the choices exercised. Sustained effort through resistance is what separates fleeting aspiration from enduring change. Each obstacle encountered is not a reason to pause or despair, but a necessary element in the development of skill, resilience, and insight. Resistance tests intentions, sharpens focus, and uncovers weaknesses that must be addressed for progress to continue. The Stoics teach that life's difficulties are tools for refinement, not signals of failure. By embracing these moments as opportunities to exercise judgment, self-discipline, and perseverance, manifestation becomes less a gamble on fortune and more a deliberate cultivation of capability. Each challenge, when approached with reasoned action, magnifies learning and contributes to the overall trajectory of growth. The alignment of values with effort ensures that actions are meaningful and outcomes are satisfying. A life built without adherence to principle may produce results, but these results often feel hollow, unanchored, or fleeting. By contrast, when choices consistently reflect core beliefs, each step taken reinforces identity and direction. Epictetus emphasized the importance of harmony between action and intention, noting that tranquility arises from living in accordance with nature and reason. Manifestation in this sense is not about accumulating success or accolades. It is about constructing a life where decisions, effort, and outcomes are coherent and self-reinforcing. Internal consistency amplifies the effectiveness of action and creates resilience in the face of uncertainty. Time is an essential ingredient in this process. Manifestation cannot be rushed. Each step, however small, compounds over days, months, and years, creating a trajectory that eventually reaches fruition. This requires patience, discipline, and a long-term perspective. The mind must learn to value consistency over novelty, process over immediate gratification. Small, deliberate acts build competence and confidence that endure beyond temporary setbacks or external fluctuations. Seneca reflected on the value of measured progress, noting that growth is not achieved by haste, but through the steady application of reasoned effort. Each incremental choice, repeated over time, establishes a foundation for results that are not only effective, but resilient to the unpredictability of circumstance. Manifestation is also a process of reflection and adaptation. Continuous evaluation of choices, strategies, and outcomes allows course correction without abandoning the trajectory of purpose. Every obstacle provides information, every setback highlights adjustments required, and every success reinforces effective practices. This cycle of action and reflection strengthens judgment, cultivates flexibility, and deepens insight. Plato argued that understanding emerges from the interplay between experience and contemplation, between practice and insight. By integrating this approach, the practitioner of manifestation learns to navigate complexity with poise, converting resistance into guidance and uncertainty into opportunity. The process is fundamentally personal. Manifestation is shaped by the values, capabilities, and intentions of the individual. It is not a formula dictated by external scripts or cultural prescriptions. It is a practice of self-determined growth. Alignment of thought, action, and principle ensures that progress is authentic and sustainable. Carl Jung observed that transformation requires engagement with the self, asserting that your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. The pursuit is inwardly anchored, with outward consequences emerging naturally from consistent, disciplined effort. It is not the world that conforms. It is the alignment of internal faculties with action that produces the life we seek. Finally, manifestation is realized through deliberate, patient cultivation. Each day offers opportunities to act wisely, to exercise judgment, and to maintain alignment with what truly matters. It is the conscientious application of choice that converts vision into reality. Outcomes emerge not as arbitrary gifts, but as the product of consistent effort applied within the sphere of control. Aristotle framed excellence as the result of habituated action, not innate talent or fortuitous circumstance. Similarly, manifestation is the cumulative effect of aligned thought, disciplined effort, and adherence to principle. Each decision, each effort, and each moment of reflection shapes the trajectory of life, producing tangible, meaningful, and enduring transformation. It is a slow alchemy, but a real one, and the responsibility for it rests fully within the domain of choice, reason, and deliberate engagement. Transformation does not happen in a moment. It grows quietly, step by step, choice by choice, through clarity, disciplined effort, and unwavering alignment with what truly matters. Every challenge, every setback, every small action is shaping the life you are capable of creating. You are the architect of your reality, and the responsibility and the power rests fully in your hands. Thank you for being a part of Stoic Journal, for taking the time to reflect, to grow, and to act with purpose. If this resonated with you, the next step is to continue your journey. Click one of the suggested videos on the screen now and let your exploration of clarity, wisdom, and disciplined action continue.